Hello and welcome to Project Home DIY. My name is Christine Gloat, the owner, founder, and curator of your Project Home boxes. Thanks for joining us in this wintry celebration of December. So we included a project that you could stack on your mantle. I personally don't have a mantle, but it goes great on a side table or anywhere in your home that needs that just a little spice up of a winter decor. So just some good general all around winter decor. We're going to bring in some warm tones with some staining on these pieces, and you'll learn the method of decoupaging, and you'll also learn how to stencil with our mesh reusable stencils. So pretty super easy project. Paint and get it up, and that's about all we have to do. So let's finish this 2023 year again with, I remember saying in January of 2023 that we're starting it off simple. And I feel like we've done well with keeping things simple, bringing you guys projects that you can confidently get done within the month and enjoy them in your home. So thank you again for joining us. It means the world to us. Me, personally, I shouldn't say us very often because we're not that big of a team around here. But I appreciate you guys fully. So let's go ahead and get started with this. First things first, I'm going to stain my wood pieces, and also the frame pieces. So these side pieces go around the sides of the wood to create a frame. So I'm going to stain those so they have a chance to start drying and before we have to glue them on. So that's going to be super important that those are ready to go. So set those aside. One of these pieces, this big piece, is going to have the decoupage paper on it. So whatever side you choose to do, one's a little bit more gray and blue, one's darker, just up to your preference. Gave you a little bit of a choice there. So this board does not need any prep done to it. We'll just decoupage on here. Teach you how to do that. So I'm going to set that one to the side. And this board will have the stencil on it. And it's going to be a two-part stencil if you choose. If you want to keep it simple and not do the quote, you don't have to do the quote. If you want to do this quote, then we will do a two-part series here. And it will include doing this base part of the stencil first and then the top. So actually, I'm thinking about tying all this in. And I think I want the wood sign to have the same stain color as all this. I think that's the way I'm going to go. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to use a regular stain. I'm going to make a faux stain. So I'm going to take a brown that I have and water it down. Of course, it's brand new. So it's, let's see, there might be a better one. And I'm going to water it down. You know, things are just never in the right spot, are they? Okay, let me go get some water, and I'm going to get another bottle of brown paint. Okay, that's a better start. Got some water, got some more stain, paint, whatever you want to call it, and a wet rag, just to keep my hands clean. So take your brown paint, and actually, I sent this to you guys in another project. It's one of the gel stains, but I'm going to water it down even more than what it is. So I'm going to take a pretty good amount because I do have quite a bit of pieces to stain. Oh, but first, before I do that, get some newspaper out. Sometimes our boxes come with flat paper. Sometimes they come with crinkle paper. I'm not sure, depending on whatever the fulfillment center did. So you can use that paper inside your box if it's available. So use some newspaper if not, but it just keeps your surface cleaner and easier to manage. Then I'm going to add a little bit of water to this. My mason jar looks terrible, but it's just the outside. It's my paint jar. And I'm going to mix it. Okay, So one reason I'm going to use the faux stain instead is because it just dries faster and it's much easier than using an oil-based stain. Also, when I glue on these side pieces, and I probably will just use hot glue, hot glue will not stick to an oil-based anything. Obviously, oil is going to be a barrier that glue can't attach to. So I want to make sure these pieces attach. So I'm going to use a water-based stain, faux stain, instead. I'm still going to wear a glove because I don't want my hands dirty and get under my nails and stuff. So keep that clean. And I'm still going to use a rag just like I would any other stain. So just take it, dump some on your rag and wipe away. So we don't have to worry about painting the sides because it will be covered with the frame piece. So don't worry about that. Just get a nice even layer of stain on there. So it'll lighten up a little bit. There's the color. Here's what it was. It'll lighten up a little bit when it's dry, but that's what color I went with. So I do have a small little space heater down here. I just plug this guy in and it helps for everything to dry just a little bit faster. And so I can move on to the next step a little bit faster. Super handy to have if you have one. I love them. So I'm going to get through staining all these pieces and I'll be moving on to the next step once I'm done. So you can join me as well. Okay, all cleaned up from staining. Let's decoupage the paper onto the board. So all you need to do this is just some sort of glue. So white glue, school glue, Mod Podge, anything like that will be perfect. There may or may not be glue in your kits. More than likely there is. So you can use that glue. I'm just sanding out some little imperfections on the edges right now, but it really won't matter. So there's a front and a back. Our logos on the back. I'm going to keep that way. If you want, you can also do double-sided signs. So you would be able to do like Christmassy, if you have a scrapbook paper Christmas print, you could do Christmas on one side and then do the winter on the other and actually just flip it around. That's kind of fun. But for now, I'm just going to show you how to do the decoupage with the paper. And I'm just going to use Mod Podge. Super easy. Oop, that's not the right one. I always have the full one, brand new one, but I don't have my open one around. Okay, got it. Just take some Mod Podge, Elmer's glue, school glue, white glue, anything that you have, and paint it on, just like paint. My Mod Podge is getting really, really thick. The most important part is to make sure that you get on the edges. So make sure when you're doing this to brush away from the edge. Don't drag your brush alongside up the edge like this, because then you're going to get puddles along the whole side. You don't want puddles. You can make some really cool Christmas gifts by taking pictures and just blocks of wood and like pictures of your family and Mod Podging them onto wood just like this. Really cool idea. Everybody loves them. super clean way to hang things as well in your home. I have a map that we pin all of our travels on, and it's just on a wood board because I don't like having a big frame around things. And this is the same way that I've done it. So Mod Podge, if you have too much glue, it'll wrinkle the paper. Just be mindful of slopping it on, I guess, per se. Don't do that. So just pull away from the edges like this, making sure all the edges have paint, especially the corners, because those are what peel up the most. And the sides are good. In my lighting, I can see dry spots, so I can fill those in. Okay, easy, it's painted. Then I'm going to check where the logo is just because I don't want it upside down. But this is the paper. I'm going to use the lighter of the gray sides with kind of the black and gold. And just place your paper on exact same way you would do if you were doing pictures, for if you do a Christmas present. And then just work your way from the center out, pressing it down. Don't worry about the edges too much yet. This one's rolled a little bit because we will sand those off. So don't worry too much about them. When you're doing pictures, be very, very careful not to get Mod Podge on the face of the picture because it will show. So you don't want that on the face of your picture. It will change the sheen of the photo. So just rub it really good and then set this in your heater or dry. Let it sit there for about an hour to dry. I'm going to put it in the heater because that'll make it go so much faster. And our pieces are, oh yeah, they're dry. So we're good there. Here's my base for the stenciling. And I got the trees and the wood still down here. So with the decoupage paper. So we're ready to stencil. Again, I'm finding my bottom. Number one thing when you're stenciling, make sure that your base is smooth. So I'm going to sand this just a little bit just to get any wood grain and wipe it off to get any wood grain, smooth it out. These are like stickers. If you put a sticker over gravel and pour water, you're going to have leaks. You got to make sure that the sticker can stick down flat on your piece of wood. So that's the most important thing with stenciling. If it really doesn't matter what kind of paste or paint that you use, that doesn't matter one bit. If it is too watery, like if I were to put this water-based stain on this, it would leak through. So too watery is not good either. But you can use any kind of paint, any of it. It doesn't matter. So this whole thought that you have to have a paste, that's a great business plan, but it's not necessary for these stencils. Use any kind of paint. So I have just acrylic that I'm going to use. So I took my stencil off the backing, save this backing. These stencils are reusable about 4 to 5 times, depending on how sticky they stay. And then you just press down, okay, and get it all nice and smooth. You'll see it's smooth, nothing showing, nothing bubbling, it's all good. So then paint. So you're going to take whatever color, let's see. I'm going to bring my paper back up here. So look, this is a pretty darn close gray. So I think I'm going to paint the tree gray. I'm going to put the paint right on the stencil. Might as well not use a tray if I don't have to, right? And again, you can't like mess it up. So paint over the stencil, filling in all the mesh. Key is to not let your paint dry on the stencil. It's a screen. If the paint dries on the stencil, you're going to clog the screen, and it's going to peel the paint up with the screen and not stay on your board, and you're going to be sad. So don't do that. Okay, I'm not going to pull against the edge because I don't want a big puddle. But you can see that it's not, you can't use too much paint. You can use too little because then it wouldn't cover. We don't want to do that. So just cover it nicely. The only reason your stencil is going to leak is if the paint's too thin or your surface isn't prepared right. I'm going to use some gold on these stars. Again, just putting the paint right on the stencil, saving some time there. Look, that's like literally puddled on, and I will show you it will not bleed. Promise. Okay, now I'm going to take just a white, and I'll probably dip this out of the bottle. And I'm going to do the white dots. Again, don't let your paint dry. This is not dried. Still got enough time. You do have to work relatively fast. I mean, I wasn't pushing it or stressed. Okay, and then peel off your stencil. Ta-da! No stains, no leaks, no nothing. It's perfect. There's a little bit of bubbling in the paint, but that will flatten out when it dries. There's the stars, everything. Oh my goodness, it looks great. It goes with it. I love it. Okay, I'm going to put the decoupage paper back down there. I'm going to put this back down here. Actually, I think the decoupage paper, it's pretty good. It's not super, super dry, but I'm going to be very careful. So the reason I have to be very careful with this, if it's not dry yet, is you could peel up your paper when you do this part of the process. I like to sand, even when I'm doing this for pictures or a big map on a piece of wood, I like to sand the edges off because I feel like it makes it become one. Like it really combines the paper and the wood and really gives it a nice finished edge. So just run your sanding block around that edge and you'll see like that little tiny shard of paper will come off. And you'll wear through the paper on some pieces. I like that look. I like to really round off the corners. I like to really wear out those spots. And it just gives it a really neat finished look. Okay, you can even carry this through onto the paper, you know, and giving it a little bit of a sand. Wear it out in certain places if you like that. Again, if you do this too soon, your glue could still be wet and you could peel up a piece of paper, just glue it, just kind of glue it back down. It's not, it will be fixable. Okay, so there's the decoupage. I'm going to come around to show you up close the edging that I'm talking about. Okay, so you can see that it's nice and worn around these edges. It really just makes the paper become one with the wood. And this looks really good when it's just, if there's no frame around it or anything. See how the edge kind of came up a little bit, even more worn right there. I love the look. I don't mind it one bit. So that's how the wood will look when you're completed. Okay, so back on this side, the frame. Okay, so get your frame pieces ready. The top and the bottom piece go over the top of the side pieces. So that's how they go. They go over the top of the side pieces, just like the new modern way to frame and trim out windows. Same way. So you can put on your side pieces first because they line up right with the edges. So put on those side pieces first. And the way we're going to do this is I'm going to use hot glue. Depending on what came in your kit, you may choose to use the glue that's in there, or you might have some wood glue you want to use or something else. I'm about ready to run out of a stick. So tip, if you don't know this already, put a little tiny dab of glue, glue your next stick to the next stick, to the stick that's in there. Then it won't fall out while you're in the middle of gluing. You know how that is. So I'm going to run a bead of glue along this. Of course, my glue stick didn't stick in there like I said it would. Okay, this piece just goes right on there with the top and the bottom. Okay, that's it. I'm going to do it again. On the other side. Okay, and push it down. Now I'm ready for the bottom pieces. And the last piece. And there is one of the framed wood signs. I love it. If you're worried about this, the frame, the sides coming off, you'll more than likely, if you pull them off after, or if they get pulled off, you're going to peel the wood off rather than the wood separate cleanly. But if you're worried about it, you could run a bead of glue all along the back, just like this, like in that seam. That's only if you're worried about it. If you want some extra strength in there, you could run that along there. Kind of clean it up with the tip, make it not so icky, bubbly, runny. But more than likely, these are not going to come apart. They should not come apart. If they fall off the mantle or something happens, maybe, but just glue it back on. So you don't need any glue, any nails or anything. It should be just fine. So there is your wood sign. You can still see the sanded parts. I love it. I love the worn look right there. So that's one piece. And let's get to stenciling the second part. So I got to make sure that this is super, super dry, and it is not ready yet. So I'm going to wait to stencil on my white winter days that melt into spring. Quote, if you don't want this stencil on and you just want to keep it like this, totally your choice. If you don't like the stars, don't paint the stars on the stencil. This is totally open to your preferences. Actually, that is pretty dry. Just didn't look like it. So we're going to go ahead and stencil on the top part. I do want to give this a tiny bit of a sand, and I'm only stenciling up top. So you'll notice our stencils, our artwork is drawn by our very own artist. Her name is Nicole. She's amazing, and you'll notice that she hides a little hidden heart on all of our artwork. And I love that. And I always ask her, I'm like, please add the heart, please add the heart. But you'll notice there's a little tiny heart down here. And that is Nicole's kind of signature piece. There's also one in the paper because she drew the paper as well. So these are our own designs. You won't find these designs anywhere else. They're drawn just for Project Home, which is really cool. Okay, last color, I'm going to pull in something dark. So let me get something here. I'm going to bring these pieces up because they're pretty much dry. It's coming together. Let's see. Ooh, I think I'm going to create like a wintry, no, I'm going to do like a gray, I'll do a gray black. So I need a black. I'm always out of raven. So here's just the raven color. Oops, that's way too much. No wonder I'm always out. And then I'm going to put in some gray. There. Way too much paint for that little piece, but oh well. But I just wanted to gray it up a little bit because that's not like a super true black. And I'm not going to fully mix it either. So let's go ahead and paint that on. I do want the words to be contrasty. So I'm going real dark over the top of the tree, over, it might hit one of the stars, and I want it to be obviously darker than the wood. So make sure that you do that. Paint it on. It's not real, it's just perfect, not super. And look. There it is. If you want to keep your stencils and reuse them, rinse them out, wash them, place them back on the backer, and you can reuse them like 5 or 6 or maybe 4 or 5 times, just depending on how sticky they are. So there it is. Oh my goodness, it's coming together. I hope you can see that. I bet you can't. I bet it's kind of cut off. Let me move it over a little bit. There. Now you can see it. Okay, I'm going to try to be very careful. This is still wet, but I'll try and put on the side pieces while it's still wet. Okay, I'm going to start with the side. Okay, letting the last piece dry, or cool, I should say. My sign is still wet. I managed to do it with it being wet. But this is the completed project. So that sums up your winter. And you have a nice mantle stacker now. So hopefully all that's in range. I'll move it over so we can see it. You can add in some other wintry things that you have, a tree, whatever, and enjoy your winter and your new decor. So thanks for joining us. Make sure to join us in 2024. And we bring back some of the classics, some of the favorites. So see you then, and stay creative. Bye.